Okay, cool. Good morning. I'd like to introduce a project about the One Laptop Per Child project. The project is After the Hype, and with me here is our guest, Christoph Deondorfer. Please give him a wonderful welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm actually surprised to see that many faces given the early hours of the day and considering how many people were still hanging out in the hacking center at 4 a.m. this morning, me being one of them. So if there's any mistakes on the slides, you can blame it on the sleep deprivation, okay? The title of the talk is After the Hype, the current state of One Laptop Per Child and Sugar Labs. Just a second about myself. I'm a computer science student at Vienna University of Technology, and I'm also researching for a small NGO that's working within the context of ICT and climate change and energy consumption. And I've been involved with One Laptop Per Child for almost 3 years now, mainly via 2 entities, one of them being AllPC Austria, a small non-profit organization that we founded in Vienna that supports the project, and allpcnews.com, which is the largest independent blog talking about the project. You can see my email address and Twitter account up there in case you care. One thing that I want to say here early on is that I can't actually speak for any of the organizations I'm talking about, so everything I'll share in the next 45 minutes or so are my thoughts only. It's important to realize about very distributed and complex projects like One Laptop Per Child and Sugar Labs, that those are very distributed and diverse projects with hundreds of people being involved in many countries around the planet, and it would be very presumptuous for myself to say that I can actually speak for any of them. So, as I said, please take everything I say here with a grain of salt and realize that it's my opinion only. I've structured the talk into 3 parts. The first one is the history of One Laptop Per Child and Sugar Labs. The second is the current status quo, so what is really happening. And the third one is what can FLOSS communities, what can hackers, what can people who care about open source, about open education, and who are also generally trying to interested in make the world a better place, if you will, what can they do to support the project. So part 1, a little history or how the hype got started. If you want to boil things down as to why many people know the project and know those laptops, it's for this simple slide. The $100 laptop, a cute green machine with a hand crank, introduced in 2005, and that's pretty much the picture that everybody has in mind when they hear AllPC or $100 laptop or One Laptop Per Child. But how was the project really created and started? First of all, I think it's important to realize that even though it's called One Laptop Per Child, it's really an ambitious education project. At least tries to present itself like an ambitious education project. The project itself was started within the area, so to say, of the MIT and Boston, Massachusetts. But what's important to realize that ideas and thoughts about how to use digital technologies for learning with very young children have been around for ages. In fact, if you look at the history of what we now know as portable computing and notebook computers, that actually directly derives from thoughts in the early 60s about how to use digital connected tools for education with very young children. So a lot of, or let's put it this way, one of the reasons why we're actually sitting around with laptops here is because people thought about how can we use connected devices? And it ended up being a business machine in many cases, but the thoughts and the theoretical concepts have been there for quite a while. One Laptop Per Child itself was founded in early 2005 as a non-profit organization in Boston. The main guy who's also associated with the project is Nicholas Negroponte. He's one of the co-founders of the MIT Media Lab, and he's also known as one of the very early funders of Wired magazine, and definitely a very well-connected, influential, and visionary guy. In terms of the project development, the first prototypes of the machines that you see here were released in late 2005. Those were the pictures with the yellow hand crank that you saw before. And the mass production of the unit started approximately 2 years ago in November 2007. What's important is if you look at one laptop per child, if you look at the website, if you look at discussions, there are always 5 guiding principles that you will find, and hence I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about them. The first one is child ownership. Child ownership meaning that the laptops that are being distributed in this project are really meant to be owned by the children. It's not something that's stuck in a computer lab, that's shared with other people. Each child gets their own laptop and owns it. That also opens possibilities of learning outside of school, because people can use the laptops on the weekends, during the holidays, after school, and so on and so forth. Second point is low ages. Especially if you look at so-called laptop classes and laptop projects in Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, a lot of the efforts have focused on secondary school or even university. The key here is with one laptop per child, people are really trying to address what's primary school in most countries around the world. So age about 6 to 10 or 11. So very low ages. The third term is saturation. Saturation basically means that people are serious about the concept of one laptop per child. One laptop per child in a given city, in a region, preferably in a country, and if we're having a daydream, literally all around the world. So again, it's not about sharing those devices, it's about everyone having access to such a device to begin with. Fourth point is connectivity. With the lack of connectivity that we've seen here, 26C3, especially yesterday afternoon, you sometimes realize that when you're not connected to the network, even the fanciest laptop or mobile phone or whatever is actually pretty useless. Because a lot of the things we do actually depend on sharing, on communicating, on gathering information from other places. So connectivity is really a key ingredient to what we understand as digital technologies today. And so the idea also with one laptop per child was to actually have those devices connected in one form or another as often and as much as possible. Fifth component is the use of free and open source software. The idea is not to create more Microsoft clones or drones, which is an interesting topic that we'll discuss in a bit, but really to make free and open platforms available to people so they can also customize it to their own requirements. For example, Microsoft would never offer the operating system in a language that's only spoken by, let's say, 500,000 or 600,000 people, because that's on the market. But if you're interested in bringing software to those people, you can get together a team, a small project, and start translating for them. That's something that's happened, for example, in South America, where people have started translating the software that's running on these machines into Aymara, which is a language spoken by about 1.5 million people, mostly in the mountains in Bolivia and Peru. And that's something that you can fundamentally only do with having an open platform. As mentioned before, the name is actually really, really serious. Every child gets a laptop. And a special laptop, a nice laptop, a cute laptop. You've probably all seen the pictures, you can see the machines here, some people in the audience are using them. And what's important about those laptops is that when a lot of people look at them and say, oh, it's a $100 laptop, they think, oh my God, this can only be a piece of crap. Because if you go out to Toys R Us and buy some kind of children's calculator or a small cute machine, it costs you $200, and it's not actually a laptop or computer, it's a very, very limited machine. So how can anybody claim to make a $100 laptop? Well, you can do that if you use a real high-tech approach to things. So the reason why this laptop is much cheaper, was much cheaper than other platforms, was because it was just designed with other design criteria in mind. And I'd like to discuss some of them. One of them that's really interesting and that's really still breakthrough technology, in my opinion, is the display. The display allows you to switch between a regular color mode and a black and white mode, and the nice thing is you can read them in direct sunlight. So, if you're sitting in a train, in a park, or in a coffee place, with most regular laptops, you actually can't see anything on a damn screen except for your own reflection. And in a lot of places around the world, there's actually no school buildings, so people are being taught in open areas, under a tree, whatever. So it's important to actually make the device readable in direct sunlight. This is what this display does. And I swear to God, I wish I had a chance to get that display into my $1,500 laptop here, because it's actually so awesome. If you haven't seen it yourself, you should really check it out.